Hi, happy Friday, everybody. It's Rachel here from AI Alchemy. And today I want to wrap up a week long, I suppose, exploration of make.com. And I hope to be able to answer the question I always ask when I test a new tool. Does this genuinely reduce workload for women who are already juggling full lives? Or is it just another shiny thing fighting for our attention? Because I am finding more and more that the reality for many of us women in business is that we don't sit in co-working spaces with unlimited time and mental bandwidth. We run businesses in often the cracks between everything else that goes on in our lives. So for me, that's school runs, it's children's sick days, it's elderly parents, it's horses escaping, it's 5-hour drives to dance competitions for my daughter, dinner that burns while you're replying to just one last client message. So when I look at AI tools, I'm not thinking, how clever is this technology? I'm thinking, how much calmer does this make my week? And that is the lens that I have used for all of the reviews that I've done, and I will continue to do so today with make.com. So, lots to get through today. This has been an interesting one. I'm going to start with what the system actually feels like when you're using it, because it is a workflow builder, which is something that might be a bit of a new gadget, I suppose, for lots of us. But it sounds far colder and, to be honest, more technical than the experience really is, because in practice, you take something repetitive that you constantly do manually and you gently hand it over to a system that never forgets and never gets tired or bored of sending the same email or reattaching a lead magnet or sending out a mail shot and realizing that actually we haven't attached the right file, or all of these things that all of us experience in our business. It's visual, which I like. It's logical. And once you click into the rhythm of it, it feels incredibly grounding, actually. It becomes the quiet colleague who always follows through and is reliable and dependable. And I really, really liked that from this system. What truly makes the system shine for me is probably first and foremost the visual clarity, because unlike some automation tools that can leave you feeling like code with makeup on, make.com actually lets you see in clear pathways what happens first, second, third, so on and so forth. So you're not left guessing or hoping, even worse. You're not sort of wondering what's going on behind the scenes and actually is it really sending 57 emails to one person, or are they just getting exactly what they need? And for visual thinkers like me, and for women juggling a million different mental tabs, that kind of clarity really, really matters. Furthermore, it quickly builds your trust in the system, which is a huge reassurance, because we don't play at our businesses. We're doing it because we want to be taken seriously and seen to be professional, and we need things that are going to present us in that way. Another win for me was depth without forcing. So some tools assume that you want kind of Silicon Valley level automation. Make.com doesn't do that. It lets you start small, however you want to go and however comfortable you are. So that might be one workflow. It could be one repetitive task or one little sanity saver. That one thing. And then when you're ready, it scales quietly with you, but there's no pressure, there's no noise, there's no, if you're not automating everything, you're doing it wrong kind of guilt. It just expands with you when you want to. So there's no sort of, right, now you've done that, you've got to do this. And if you don't do this, that won't work. None of that existed. And I found that very, very comforting. Something else that's a biggie for me, and it's something that I do talk about quite often, is what I call my nervous system and the safety around that. In my opinion, it's not something enough tech founders talk about, which is why I'm trying to bring it to the forefront more, because we're looking for context switching that doesn't burn your energy. We don't want decision fatigue that drains our focus. Remembering steps can be exhausting for lots of us. Automation, when it's done correctly and gently, can reduce all of those things. And make.com, for me, I found that once something was built, it just kind of happens. It just gets on with it. I didn't have to think about it again. My clients got their lead magnets. Leads were getting what I'd promised them. Payment triggers and onboarding stages were just happening. And I wasn't constantly firefighting and, making lists of the million things that I've got to do within my business. And that was just like, whew, like a big exhale of relief. Because for women whose real lives already require a huge amount of emotional labor, that relief often matters more than any marketing feature list anybody could present you with. Just knowing that the basics are done and done well, and without you having to sit and micromanage every last detail, is incredibly liberating. Now, honesty matters, and I always give you my honest opinions. There were challenges. Of course, nothing is perfect, and make.com is no exception. It certainly isn't, shake a magic wand and everything's perfect. There is a learning curve. Not difficult, but different. What I would suggest is give yourself 10 to 15 quiet minutes. Make yourself a cup of tea and get the headspace to map out what you actually want this tool to do, probably before you get too engaged in the mechanics of it. It's not an install and instant success type tool. And actually, honestly, I like that, because tools that promise instant results, in my experience, usually create chaos later on. Make.com felt different because it encourages deliberate workflow building, and deliberate systems, in my experience, ultimately create you a calmer business. And that is very, very reassuring. Now, in my opinion, this tool is absolutely perfect for women who are already stretched, women who want fewer loopholes and worries in their business. It's perfect for people who prefer clarity over hustle, for those who value depth over noise, and for those who want to run a real business, not a 24/7 performance piece online. And it's especially for those of us who intentionally design our lives around, in my case, a 10-hour work week. Because for me, when you only have 10 hours, I can't afford leakage. I can't afford repetitive admin. And I certainly can't afford to reinvent the wheel on a weekly basis. Automation has become the anchor of everything I do, and that is a non-negotiable for me. Now, there are people who I think this tool is not going to be appropriate for. If you're someone that wants instant gratification, no, you've got to put in a little bit of legwork first. If you're someone who is absolutely terrified and doesn't want to think about systems, this probably isn't going to be a comfortable experience for you. If you're someone who changes tools every 2 weeks because there's a shiny new offer, don't waste your time. If you resist documenting processes, then it's also not going to be an ideal solution for you. Because in my opinion, Make.com really rewards intentionality. If chaos is your brand, this tool is going to frustrate you. And that sounds a funny thing to do, but you've got to have a logical mindset going into this and know that this leads to this, gives this, and this is the output. You've got to be very, very clear on that before you start, because otherwise you're going to be like I was trying to untangle the fairy lights at Christmas, just getting into a bigger mess than you started with. Now, what surprised me about this tool, and I always like this aspect because I like to be surprised, and I'm not often surprised anymore, but I didn't expect the level of technical ability in a tool that really is designed to simplify everything for you. And I didn't expect that almost instant feeling of calm. And that was probably the biggest surprise for me. It was, there's something deeply regulating about knowing that your business isn't going to collapse simply because your life gets busy, or in my case, because I've got to go to Blackpool again next weekend, or dealing with horses that are staging their own miniature heist and stealing from the local farmers, prize crops. Maybe you've got to support your kids through term time transitions, and your business doesn't slide backwards in your absence. That is so empowering and rewarding. And it's not because you're working harder, but because your systems work for you. And that is where the real power in these tools lives, in my opinion. So my verdict, it's probably no surprise here, is it? Does Make.com earn its place inside the AI Alchemy toolbox? And this one is a resounding yes, absolutely, firmly, calmly, quietly. And that's not because it's trendy. I'm not a trendsetter. I don't go after shiny new things. That's not my take on this at all. It's because it supports the kind of life that I actually want to live. And I'm sure many of you want too. My life is busy, it's layered, it's human, it's heart-led, and I'm not interested in sacrificing my family at the altar of productivity. I have young children. They're not going to be little and wanting mummy time for so much longer. You see, automation, when well done, gives you your life back, and Make.com is one of those tools that's really going to help you with that. Now, if this has interested you and you would like a gentle introduction into Make.com and how to incorporate it into your business, I have, as usual, created a short and accessible guide. It's an ebook, How to Automate Everyday Business Tasks with Make.com. It's written in plain English, step by step. There's zero jargon, and it's designed specifically for women with real-life brains and full households. Now, it's £4.99. You'll find a link somewhere beneath this video, wherever automation decides to pop it. And if you can't find it there, you will find it in the library section of the shop on my website. Because at the end of the day, support shouldn't only be available to people with, thousands and thousands of pounds to spend. In this £4.99 ebook, you're going to find starter workflows, templates, troubleshooting tips, simple language, nervous system safe pacing, and of course, everything anchored inside the 10-hour work philosophy that I resolutely refuse to deviate from. Your business shouldn't demand more than your life can give. Tools are there to create space, not tension. And Make.com, when used with intention, does that beautifully. Thank you for being here. and for building businesses that honour the people that you love as much as the work that you do. Have a fabulous weekend, whatever you're doing, and I will be back on Monday to give you 2 new tools to get your heads around. I will see you then. Bye-bye.